over 6 months were shown to improve their verbal memory compared to people who didn't. Hi friends! Most people think dementia starts in the brain, but it actually ends in the brain. And that is one reason why there isn't an effective drug. What if your brain is just responding to signals? What if forgetting names, losing focus, or reading the same line, brain fog, and mental fatigue, they're not just simply getting older, but they're signs that your brain is not getting the right signals. My name is Dr. Liu, and I've been a double board certified physician for 25 plus years, working alongside with thousands of people with dementia. This disease is personal because I have family members who have dementia, including my mom. So in this video, I'm going to go over the 10 most important under-recognized signals that contribute to dementia. Now, I believe these are some of the most important drivers of dementia, but honestly, there is probably one that is most powerful because it affects just about all of them. To prevent dementia, the first step to change shouldn't be the day you get diagnosed. And that's why the sooner you understand what makes the brain lose function in the first place and which signals need to change, the sooner you can course correct. So when someone says, my memory is just getting worse, the first question really should be, what kind of brain signal is not working right? So I think number one is energy signals. Do you know the most vital vitamin that your brain needs that you can't store? And it's necessary for you to process any fuel for your brain. That's vitamin B1, thiamine. And thiamine is just not going to be a vitamin sitting on a nutrition label. It is one of the brain's energy signals. So think of thiamine as a green light for brain energy. Without it, the brain is sitting at a red light stop. The fuel may be there, but the machinery can't move forward. The brain depends on glucose, but glucose alone is not enough. You need thiamine to turn that glucose into ATP, the energy currency your brain cells need to fire, remember, balance, and stay awake. Now, ketones may bypass part of the glucose problem, but they do not bypass the brain's need for thiamine. Thiamine is still needed for mitochondrial energy metabolism. I think there's a silent epidemic of thiamine insufficiency that can easily be tipped over into deficiency under the right conditions. Now, it's hard to quantify because normally we don't check for thiamine deficiency since we have an easy, safe fix for people who look like they have it. Now, do you know what we do? We actually just simply replace our thiamine. This means we give people vitamin B1 intravenously or sometimes even orally. And this is literally something that you can do at home. 15% of older adults, they present to the emergency room confused. They have what we call delirium. And amongst those who are hospitalized, about a quarter of them have delirium. So confusion is one of the most common reasons families end up bringing their loved ones to the emergency room. And stressors that can tip people over to confusion, basically deplete their thiamine, include infections, medications, alcohol, dehydration, metabolic problems, or other illnesses. So this means a person who has borderline thiamine levels will quickly become deficient. And the thing is, you can't store your thiamine. You have to eat it every day. The brain needs thiamine or vitamin B1 to turn food into energy. And when thiamine runs low, the brain cells can't make energy normally. And that's one of the first ways that can show up as first being tired, fatigued, and then confusion. But the dangerous part is that many people don't realize they are low in thiamine, even though they may feel weak, they may be malnourished, intoxicated, infected, or confused. And how much of this confusion is because they don't have the green light for energy production. That happens when you're missing thiamine. It's really easy to run low when you're not paying attention to your diet, when you're not eating an adequate amount of food, or when you're taking substances that inhibit the absorption of thiamine. And this happens also in people who are drinking alcohol, or they have just simply vomiting, or they're on a diet, they have some kind of illness that prevents them from swallowing. The brain can become energy starved. And again, that shows up as confusion, delirium, maybe trouble walking, fatigue, sleepiness, abnormal eye movements, or memory problems. All of this is just mimicking dementia. And that brings us to what I mentioned earlier, alcohol, which is number 2. Alcohol sends a wrong signal to your brain. And fortunately, it's not going to just be like one drink where you're going to get thiamine deficient or have problems. But you don't have to be completely alcohol dependent to get thiamine deficient either. Now, I personally know many people who are functional alcoholics, meaning that they are silently struggling with alcohol dependence, yet they don't quite meet the criteria for alcohol use disorder because they're not telling anybody and they're not doing anything that would bring them attention, right? They're not getting in trouble with the law or getting in trouble with bad behavior where people can recognize it. About 10% of adults in the US, they have an alcohol use disorder, but 92% of them, they're not receiving any alcohol treatment. And in 2024, 27.1 million people, adults in the US, or 10.3% of adults had alcohol use disorder in the past year. But only 2 million adults with alcohol use disorder, or 7.5%, they actually receive alcohol use treatment. So roughly, most people, 93%, don't receive any treatment. And by the way, if you find values in my videos, would you mind checking if you're subscribed? And if you are not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, like button, and share button, because it does change how many people get to watch my videos. I appreciate your partnership in helping to change the world. And one of the quietest dementia risks is alcohol, because many people think it's normal, right? People drink. They don't think it's a problem. 1 in 10 adults, they actually meet the criteria for alcohol use disorder, yet more than 9 out of 10 don't ever get any help. And alcohol not only drains the brain of thiamine, the nutrient that you need for energy, but alcohol also lowers your body's absorption of thiamine. It blocks its absorption in the gut. It actually increases your urinary loss of thiamine, and it stresses the liver, where a little bit of thiamine can be stored. So it interferes with so many of the necessary processes to get good thiamine levels. And then the brain just becomes energy starved long before people realize something's wrong. And sure, you can take extra thiamine, but do you really think if you're drinking, you're going to be thinking about taking extra thiamine? And plus, remember, alcohol inhibits the absorption of thiamine. So if you take it when you drink, that doesn't help. And another horrible effect on alcohol on the brain is sleep disturbance, which is number 3. Poor sleep leads you to poor memory. You may think you're getting sleepy from alcohol because it makes you fall asleep faster because it's a sedative. However, you get poor quality sleep and disruptive sleep. Your brain needs to turn off every day to clean, repair, organize your memory. But alcohol interferes with all that. It interferes with your REM sleep. It actually oppresses it. It is a wrong signal for sleep and health. It makes people have lighter sleep. It causes people to sweat when they sleep, to urinate, to have anxiety. It basically can worsen sleep apnea, raise your blood pressure, and your cardiovascular risk. So alcohol is simply one of the most deceptive sleep aids because it can knock you out, but it doesn't help you rebuild the brain. It's a sedative in the front end, but then it fragments sleep in the back end. Yeah, let's not use alcohol, even wine, to sleep before bedtime. Okay, it's not a sleep aid. It will rob your memory and it will increase your risk of dementia. I had a friend who literally would tell me she needs to drink a couple glasses of wine to fall asleep. That's actually the worst thing you can do. And again, you may fall asleep, but you're not going to stay asleep. And she notices that even though she drinks wine, she falls asleep without a problem, but she can't stay asleep. So it's a signal to mess up your sleep. And really anything that passes your lips can potentially give your brain the wrong signal. So besides alcohol, the other major driver is number 4, ultra-processed food. And the more ultra-processed food you eat, the higher your risk of dementia. And, there's probably several reasons for it. Number 1, you're eating a bunch of chemicals that I'm sure isn't even supposed to be in your body, let alone your brain. Number 2, the chemicals are not packaged with fiber to slow down its digestion. And number 3, you're not getting the other stuff that's actually in whole foods, the necessary vitamins and minerals and polyphenols and other nutrients that we can't quantify in our foods and that we can't put in a supplement. And another important factor is fiber. When you don't eat whole food, you don't get fiber to feed your gut bacteria. And that gut bacteria makes short-chain fatty acids in response to fiber to help you calm inflammation. That can turn on brain protective signals like brain-derived neurotropic factor. There's also direct research connecting prebiotic fiber, short-chain fatty acids, and hippocampal brain-derived neurotropic factor.
Hi, friends. I am so thrilled that you want to take charge of your health and take charge of your food. Now, I know nutrition can be complex, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm here to support you in this lifelong journey. So if you point your camera app to this QR code, it'll take you to a link for a free handout that I created just for you. And if you like it, if you want to see other handouts, please go to the link in my show notes, and then you can leave me your feedback on what I could do to help you in your journey. Okay, back to the video now.
And unfortunately, 70% of what's sold in the market are ultra-processed foods. And then about the same amount, maybe a little bit less, of what people cook at home is also ultra-processed. I mean, if we're going to put in cheap stuff, why do we expect our car, this fortress, to last our lifetime? We have to eat the foods that support our brain health to give us the right signal, to give us the right repair mechanism. And whole food with fiber is very protective for our neurons. But it's really anything in the outside world that could be negative signals to our brain to promote dementia, like number 5, air pollution. Now, I live in sunny Southern California, one of the most polluted states in America. Air pollution not only increases your risk of Alzheimer's dementia, but it also worsens people's dementia if they already have it. But most of the time, I'm not outdoors smelling car exhaust. In fact, I spend a lot of my time indoors. How clean is your indoor air? Because your indoor air can be more polluted than outdoor air. When I'm indoors, I'm surrounded by fumes from your furniture, from packages that get delivered, from your gas stove. I mean, those are just a few. We can't get away from it. And that's why in my house, I have several HEPA filters, HEPA. In 2020, we went all out filtering out our house when we realized that the germ that we were facing was airborne. And if one person got hit, everybody in the house would get hit unless we got rid of it from the air. So we put a HEPA filter in every single person's room. Now, those boxes are quite expensive, so we decided to make our own, and you basically can get a regular box fan that's less than $20, and then you buy a filter that almost exactly fits the back of your fan, and you tape it up to prevent air from getting sucked away from the filter. And the point is, you just want the air to always pass through the filter so that it can be cleaned. Because you're not getting all those fumes from just your furniture, cars, and factories that can be trapped in your home, but also your detergents, your cleaning agents, and microplastics. Now, every time you open a garbage bag, there's microplastics spewing in the air, so don't be shaking that garbage bag around too much, okay? One big problem is that people are finding microplastics in the brain, which is a huge problem because they're not supposed to get in your brain, especially trash like microplastics. And it's probably giving your brain the wrong signal. So HEPA filter your air when you can get some HEPA filters to get rid of those microplastics and all the fumes that you have in your house and some of the pollutants that are settled in the dust in your home. Speaking of bad air, did you know that the worst thing you can do is inhale smoke of any sort? Whether that's from your barbecue grill, your stove top when you cook, or cigarettes. So it's really important that you stop smoking and that you're not inhaling candle fumes, cooking fumes, so turn on that kitchen exhaust, or restaurant fumes. And whenever there is a forest fire, stay indoors. It's not good to inhale anything burning. And if you have to go outside, wear N95 mask. Even if you don't smell it, the fine particulate matter, the PM 2.5 matters, or smaller, can increase your risk of dementia. So good air quality isn't just good for your lungs. It's good for your brain, for your memory. And it's kind of scary how particulates in the air can actually have a direct connection to your brain. And in fact, your olfactory nerve, the nerve that helps you smell, is an extension of your brain and directly goes inside in the middle of your brain. So potentially particulates can have a direct connection through the olfactory nerve as a portal to your brain. And when bad things get in, that's bad, right? It promotes dementia. But at the same time, good things actually can go in. And good things can actually promote memory. And that's why number 8, smells can be one of the most powerful signals to preserve your memory. I mean, literally, smell is the fastest door into memory and can take you back 40 years before you think of any words to express it. And that's because your nerve in your nose, the olfactory nerve, is closely connected to your brain's memory and emotional center. Emotions are one of the strongest signals to solidify memory. Older people who are exposed to different scents from essential oils throughout the night for about a couple of hours over 6 months were shown to improve their verbal memory compared to people who didn't. Now, we also know that when people lose their sense of smell, that actually increases your risk of dementia. So the right senses are super powerful signals to keep your brain healthy. Now, you don't necessarily have to go out and buy essential oils to replicate the study, but you do need to go and connect to nature. So let me tell you some of the smells that the paper used. Rose, orange, lemon, eucalyptus, peppermint, rosemary, lavender. Some of these essential oils I know can be quite expensive and you don't want to get a cheap one, right? But you can just go buy a rose or peel an orange, and you know how fragrant that is. That's another reason to go eat oranges. Then you can take those peels and you actually can sniff it, or you can grind it all together. Blending a lemon rind will also do the same thing. And by the way, make sure that when you're peeling a lemon or a lime or any citrus fruit, don't go directly in the sun without washing your hands, because the essential oils are activated by the sun and can give you a photodermatitis, basically a really bad blister that can even be as bad as a burn. Now, whenever you think about lemon, I actually think about lemonades and then barbecues in the summer and home-cooked meals. And did you know that if you can cook at least once a week to make your own meal, you can significantly reduce your risk of dementia? I mean, if you think about it, cooking is not just a food task. It's a brain task, a body task, a sensory task, and potentially a social task all in once. So when you cook at home, you're automatically improving your diet quality. Hopefully you're cooking from scratch and controlling exactly what you're putting in your food, right? You're trying to make it taste good. So oftentimes you're going to have to add herbs and spices to make it taste good. And those foods can directly help to lower inflammation in your brain. Home-cooked meals often are made from scratch with quality ingredients, not ultra-processed chemicals. And when you cook, the aromas trigger memory, emotions, that provides signaling to your brain to activate your brain. And probably the most important part of all of this is that cooking forces a brain to learn, to organize. There's a little bit of danger to it. Besides washing it, you got to chop and heat it. You can't burn yourself or chop yourself, right? And then you have to adjust the flavor to taste so that you're challenging your taste buds. You're challenging your brain. You're making it exercise to stay sharp and to be on top of that as you physically move throughout the kitchen. You're standing, you're reaching, you're chopping, you're stirring, you're mixing, you're carrying groceries, and then you may even have to clean up. Those are all forms of exercise, which is very good for the brain. And oftentimes, cooking also gives people a sense of purpose because you're not just cooking for yourself, but for your families. And that's why it's such an important activity for you to do with your family. It allows you to socialize, which is one of the best signals for the brain. And that's why number 9 should be never eating alone. That's a horrible signal. Eat with a buddy. That's a good signal, even if it's on FaceTime, like a real-time buddy, not a pretend buddy like you're watching on social media. People who eat alone often eat too fast, and they often eat poor quality food. So when you make these bad choices, you may not eat enough fruit or vegetables that your brain needs to detoxify, or enough protein for your tissue to rebuild. Eating alone increases alcohol use, which is really bad, right? It's a bad signal that prevents sleeping, and it causes thiamine deficiency and all these other problems. Eating alone actually can lead to brain structural changes even without alcohol. And this was shown in Japanese adults who lived alone. They had smaller brains and they ate more sugar and alcohol too. Now, that study doesn't prove that eating alone directly causes dementia. But I do think that we can all agree that smaller brains are not what we want to achieve, right? And that's why the worst signal of all that you can give your brain is no signal. It's the signal of social isolation. Number 10, it's really up to each of us to counteract the fear to socialize. We need to be building our own communities. People who are socially isolated, they tend not to move, right? You're just sitting in front of a computer, thinking that you have people interaction because you're watching people, but you're not really interacting with them. Socially isolated people often find themselves struggling with mental health. They're depressed, they're moody, they may be angry, they may have anxiety, they will have mood fluctuations throughout the day. And a lot of times it'll be negative. And they're probably some of the meanest people online. If you surround yourself with negativity that's formed online and you're not getting feedback from positivity from other people, basically you're not getting correction, then you go down this rabbit hole that is very hard to come back. Less social interaction means less brain stimulation. Talking back and forth is a brain exercise. And it's not just forming language, but it's the ability to look and read someone else's face, their body language, to understand their verbal language. That takes a lot of brain power and memory to put that all together. It takes practice. And when you don't practice, you get more fearful. It also takes practice to listen and remember to what people say and to figure out how to respond, how to read facial expressions, how to regulate your emotions when they trigger you, and how to tell stories so they'll listen to you. If you don't practice this, it gets harder. You get more withdrawn. So if you have a chance to go to a party or throw a party, you should do it. Connection is a key to preventing dementia. Connection is a key to eating better quality. When you socially isolate, you generally will eat less well, you'll skip meals, or you're going to eat more ultra-processed convenient foods. And like I said, the brain needs several essential nutrients that are not found in those foods. And if you want to learn more about them, watch the next video.